Alright guys, welcome back to another Battlefield video. Very controversial topic today, mate. I'm gonna piss off a lot of people with this video, and YouTube's already got a tight bottleneck on my videos. The GenderField debate is back. So there's been some discussion regarding Battlefield 6's open weapons system and recent changes to movement mechanics. People obviously had enough of the fast-paced Call of Duty mechanics which allow for boost sliding and skating across the map. I've already spoken about this issue, and you combine that with the game's infantry-focused, very small maps and high time to kill, it really makes for this very awkward experience, and the developers just threw a load of cover everywhere to compensate for the very piss-poor lack of understanding of how to make a Battlefield map. Not to mention how the game modes were clearly shoved in last minute. Classic modes like Rush don't even fit on certain maps. And again, the maps are a massive problem because just look at how fucking stupid these maps are. Iberian Offensive is just one small circle. Empire State is only fit for team deathmatch. Where the fuck are you going playing Rush on this? There's no space between objectives. I mean, it's undeniable at this point. You're pulling from different games like Rainbow Six Siege with the sledgehammer mechanics and bits of micro destruction to help you blow through floors exactly again like Rainbow Six Siege. Again, the maps are way too small. This is Call of Duty. And that's what's pissing us off, because you're catering to an alien COD audience who are migrating to this game because Black Ops 7 is garbage, effectively pissing off the core audience. I have no idea what Vince Zampella or any of those COD lab testers were trying to build here, but they succeeded in deconstructing Battlefield and using Frostbite to create this Frankenstein Rainbow Six COD hybrid. It's fucking embarrassing.
The teams have been working so hard on this for so long. I just... Bullshit.
The other frequently mentioned concern is the impact of cosmetic items, such as the increasing presence of player skins and their perceived effect on the game's sense of realism. The ongoing conversation about the pre-order Phantom skin, for example. But the most concerning topic of debate for me, at least, is the player choice in character gender, and whether the game's developers are influencing the community's gender preferences. So when the beta dropped, at first glance, early signs screamed that gender might be locked behind specific classes, in this case the engineer and support class. And this is something that I think nobody understood or realized. Like I said, the character models are deliberately androgynous, so you can't tell the difference. We've got 6-foot soldiers and all of them have concealed faces. And again, this is an open beta, so everyone's focused on the game's bigger problems, bugs, getting out of the map, or gameplay issues. But eventually people started to realize that they couldn't change the gender of these classes. And when people questioned this and asked, please let us change genders for the operators, they were either blocked or the topic is completely ignored. Or sometimes we get this bullshit tweet from the developers, like this vague tweet from DICE's Alexia Christofi, which lit a complete firestorm. It basically says, pick the class for the gender you want. And this is somehow a producer on Battlefield 6, by the way. I have no idea what the fuck she means by this. This is not giving players the freedom of choice. It's a very weak attempt at forcing players to conform with this woke nonsense, and it's got the community rightfully pissed off. The notion of locking classes to gender is completely retarded. And this vague tweet clears up nothing. It's basically a great big fuck you to the overwhelming male demographic who play these games and tells me they want to force inclusion and we just have to accept this bullshit. What's worse is the developers stonewalling us on how cosmetics even work. Even though it's a cash grab, they'll clearly milk harder than they ever have before. What seemed clear to me is that DICE are using a design model which is fundamentally limiting your freedom of choice. So gender will be locked behind specific classes. For example, players are forced to play as females for the engineer and support class, and you'll never be able to change that. And this kind of bites them in the arse, because if you want to play as a female sniper class, well, you can simply forget it. Again, this is really stupid game design. Like, why the fuck are you doing this? This is a problem with a very simple solution. You allow people to choose what gender they want to play as.
Wow!
It's not rocket science. You could even provide a toggle option so we don't even have to see or hear females running around everywhere. I personally don't want to hear high-pitched squealing or commands from some boss bitch while I'm trying to just enjoy Battlefield.
Thanks for that!
Need a fucking med kit! Need
What?
some ammo!
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
And you're probably asking right about now, what the fuck is my issue with females in combat roles or military video games? Probably calling me a misogynist right about now. Well, the thing is,
I am a man.
every fiber in my being is against killing women in a military simulation. But the gender debate in Battlefield isn't new. It's been a thorn in our side since Battlefield 1. Back then, gripes were minor because the game kept it real, tossing in female soldiers for the Russian DLC, which made sense because it was historically accurate. Russia had women on the front lines because they were desperate and running out of manpower, like the Battalions of Death, which were exclusively female. So DICE played it smart then, sticking to history, but now they're veering off for this progressive, inclusive push in Battlefield 6, which feels like a betrayal of that authentic experience legacy. You only have to look at the following two games after Battlefield 1 to truly understand where shit fell off the rails. Battlefield 5 really pissed people off with its reveal trailer. I already spoke about this. The focus of the trailer is a female with a prosthetic arm on the front line with a submachine gun bashing a German's head in, which is undeniably a mockery of World War II and the men who fought and died in that war, completely destroying any semblance of realism and authenticity. And when players said, "What the hell is this?" developer Patrick Sunderland came out and said, "If you don't like the game, don't buy it." So now you've pissed off the fans. They don't want to buy the game, and the immersion of the whole experience from marketing to the game itself is completely broken. Not to mention the game was underwhelming and severely lacking in content, by the way, serving up one of the weakest performing Battlefield games on release, thanks to these imbecilic leftist developers. This could have been one of the best World War II experiences ever made, focused on large-scale, authentic campaign experiences built around some of the most iconic battles of World War II. But its developers were more focused on baking inclusion into the game's DNA, so you got 6 very short, linear, emotional demos called War Stories, one of which is focused entirely on a woman who somehow became the face of the game, bringing with it a multiplayer which had become an absolute comedy of World War II, which sidelined many of those great historic battles of World War II, and again, females running around everywhere in the multiplayer, and that ridiculous specialist class system which was locked behind gender, meaning you could bring in a female Japanese soldier into the ruins of Rotterdam. And by the time anyone had the balls to form any critical opinion on this garbage, we got 2042, and the gender issue got buried under a pile of hip-hop player skins and a hero specialist system. They didn't just double down on the problem, it became the game's main selling point. The reveal trailer showcased gender-locked specialists like Maria Falk and non-binary Sundance, a female character with pronouns. And the game was hell-bent on shoving in annoying personalities front and center of every match, with cute outro cinematics and again, very awkward player skins. Yeah, you'd be lying if you told me this wasn't some self-insert ego trip by some leftist developer. Battlefield went from respected series focused on freedom to play how you want in a grounded milsim experience focused on all-out warfare to this cringy K-pop mercenary cosplay, offering less and less content with every release, and an undeniable decrease in quality. 2042 was another poorly received game. So now we have Battlefield 6, and the gender debate has returned. Again, people are fed up with them constantly trying to force this gender agenda into our spaces and calling you a misogynist for not accepting it. But this is a disingenuous, backwards argument. You can't call me a misogynist for not wanting women to die in frontline combat fighting other men, or psychologically try to train me to kill women in video games. It seems like a very abusive, misogynistic thing to do right there, which kind of takes me to the wider geopolitical context of the problem. If women can't compete in men's sport, then why the fuck are they fighting men in the military?
Things, and casting is definitely one of them. A steal underneath, and who's on the floor? Sky players, less than a minute here. Copper all the way to the rim, but cannot connect. Tierra Ruckenfrat in transition. And the
knocks out from Clark. Here comes Lloyd. Howard looked like she got away with an illegal screen on Turner. Howard finishes it, no.
In short, I'm saying pay these women. That's what I'm saying. She's gonna go elegant about it. You need to be paid because you command the same respect. The game is just as good.
Women are biologically at a disadvantage here and a prize for the enemy, if you catch my drift. They're not designed to compete in this very deadly arena. Men are just bigger, stronger, faster, better motor skills, and this is just objective reality. But in 2025, we're trying to reinvent the wheel, shoving women into masculine roles because we're trying to ignore gender roles. And women do not make up a significant part of our militaries. So that argument fails because it's a complete lie. They're very much so still a minority in these positions. And personally, I just don't want to hear females running around squealing shit. It's just fucking cringy. I believe in giving players the agency, the freedom to at least choose what gender they want, and this modern setting is the perfect canvas to allow for that greater customization. You could let players pick each individual piece of clothing, their gender, their character, and this is something that Battlefield 5 did really well. Customization was top tier. It gave the tools to allow for full player choice from the face paint, the headgear, clothing, and gender. And you could expand on this in thousands of ways without breaking immersion. But instead of expanding on this or evolving forward, you're giving us less in terms of customization and the freedom to choose what gender, or even the ability to complete this turn this bullshit off. I've already shown you how they're giving you way less in terms of content compared to BF4, which came out over a decade ago, and now they're giving you less in terms of customization. So I'm not sure what the fuck this is. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this one, mate. Like I said, YouTube's put a tight bottleneck on my videos. I'm barely getting any views because I'm quite controversial and YouTube doesn't like me spitting facts, because most people can't handle facts because everyone's soft and emotional. Anyway, let me know in the comments. That's DW signing out.